Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone, to Emergency coming to you from the Area Command 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. As we've been doing in the times past here, we're going to start this program off with a salute to the United States of America. I would ask that everybody please rise now for the Pledge of Allegiance and the United States National Anthem.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now would you make welcome, straight from Washington, D.C., the United States Army Corps Quartet.
Yeah.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Oh, yeah! Come on, folks, let them know it.
America's finest, the United States Army Barbershop Quartet, performing at the Bar Quartet Convention in 2015. The host of the Bar Quartet gave us the Pledge of Allegiance, and we are very grateful for that. We want to honor all of our military, wherever they might be around the world, and our allied military that help support us around the world. God bless all of you men and women. May you all return home to your families in safety when your tours of duty end. And thank you all for your service. God bless you all. Folks, we have a lot to talk about tonight. I'm first going to talk about earthquakes around the world. We have 800, I want to get this right, we have 846 earthquakes that have hit around the world in the past 24 hours. 846 earthquakes. USGS doesn't tell us hardly any of that. I'm going to detail it all for you in just a minute here. Folks, why do we do this? We're trying to make sure that we tell you exactly what's going on around the world. not just earthquakes, but everything going on around the world. We try to make that our philosophy and our end case. Why? Because those of you that are anywhere near this activity, you have, one, the right to know about it. Two, you need time to prepare for whatever's going to happen. Plain and simple. Everybody needs time to prepare. If you're not given time to prepare, then you're basically screwed. Basically screwed, guys. That's where it's at. The United States government, the United States Geological Survey, say we have 42 earthquakes worldwide. Let me correct this. We have 846 earthquakes, magnitude up to magnitude 7.5. One quake, a magnitude 7. One quake between magnitude 6 and 7. 12 quakes between magnitude 5 and 6. Large earthquakes. 5.0 to 5.9. One quake between magnitude 6 and 7. 6.0 to 6.9. 12 earthquakes between magnitude 5 and 6. 5.0 to 5.9. 56 earthquakes between magnitude 4.0 and 4.9. 121 earthquakes between 3.0 and 3.9. We've had 228 earthquakes between magnitude 2.0 to 2.9. Those are minor earthquakes. Most people cannot even feel them. We've had 427 earthquakes between magnitude 2, or excuse me, below magnitude 2. The people don't feel. 427 earthquakes, tremors and microquakes. 427 earthquakes, minor tremors and microquakes. The latest today, a 3.7 that hit in New Zealand just over 40 minutes ago. The strongest earthquake, the South Pacific Ocean, 123 kilometers west of Nuku'alofa, Tonga. Nuku'alofa, Tonga, 18 hours ago, a 5.6. Folks, why do I need to tell you this? Okay? Why do we talk about this? To save people's lives. To save people's lives. This is the strongest, a 5.6 near Huma, Tonga, near Nuku'alofa, Tonga. Also, an earthquake here. This is a 4.6 near Luvuka, Fiji. West of there, this is Vanuatu, Sola, Vanuatu. This is a moderate 4.6, 126 kilometers deep. Right next to it is a 4.4 in the Solomon Islands, 154 kilometers deep as well. This one over here near Nuku'alofa, Tonga, this was 187 kilometers deep. No hugely deep earthquakes. Okay? Over here in the Banda Sea, this was a large 5.0. This one is 117 kilometers deep. Over here, Portotano, Indonesia, near Timor, a 4.7. This is 306 kilometers deep, a fairly deep quake. This is a 4.6. Labuha, Indonesia, 41 kilometers deep. This one here, I'm going to take some time to show it to you. Right here. Again, this is off the coast of northeast Mindanao, Philippines. The largest island in the Philippines. Mindanao actually is pronounced Mindanao, Philippines. This is a 4.772 kilometers deep. This is just one of many. USGS is still not reporting all the earthquakes here. This is an aftershock. One of many aftershocks. I believe there are 6 other earthquakes here. This is one of them. A moderate 4.7 here off of Mindanao, Philippines. I'm going to go really quick over here to Japan. Southern Japan. Kushima, Japan. A moderate 4.3. 35 kilometers deep. Almost directly east from there, in the Izu Islands, we have a 4.6 earthquake here. This is 10 kilometers deep. 6.2 miles deep. Over here on the western side of the islands of Japan, Ishikawa, Japan. This is a 4.4 near the town of Nano, N-A-N-A-O, Japan, a 4.4. This is a 4.5 near Anamizu, still on the Ishikawa Prefecture, a 4.5, 10 kilometers deep. The largest earthquake today here, also near Anamizu, Japan, a 5.1, 10 kilometers deep. Just to the north there, a 4.3, a moderate earthquake, 10 kilometers deep. I'm going to talk about Japan for a few minutes. I cannot let this go. I can't let this go. In order to talk about this, I want to show you what exactly has been happening. I've got some pictures to show you. It's hard to talk about. This is Ujima, Japan. This town was nearly destroyed by the earthquake and the subsequent fires. Nearly destroyed because of the earthquake and the subsequent fires. Nobody realizes what happens here. First responders and rescuers have braved the cold in a race against time as they have searched for survivors along Japan's western coastline today. The powerful earthquake that hit was not a 7.7, a 7.5. It was an 8.4, 8.5 earthquake, and we've detailed exactly why it was that strong, regardless of what the stupid agency has to say about it. So far, the earthquakes and the fires have left over 84 people dead and more than 170 missing. A downpour and possible snow are expected tonight, raising the risk of landslides. Ishikawa officials said 48 of those who died were in the city of Ujima that I'm showing you here. 23 who died were in Suzu, S-U-Z-U, Japan. The 13 others were reported in 5 neighboring towns. More than 300 people have been injured, at least 26 seriously. 26 seriously. Buildings have been toppled. Buildings have pancaked. Late today, officials said 179 people are still missing, releasing a list with their names. Many of them are elderly from Ujima and Suzu. Ishikawa Prefecture and nearby areas were shaken by more aftershocks today, adding to the dozens that followed Monday's magnitude 8.4, 8.5 earthquake, centered near Noto, Japan, 185 miles west of Tokyo on the opposite coast. The quake set off tsunami warnings, followed by waves measuring more than 3 feet high, 1.5 meters high. The first 72 hours are especially critical for rescuers because the prospects for survival greatly diminish after that. More than 40 hours have passed. This now is a race against time, and I feel we are at a critical moment. Prime Minister Fumio Kishida announced that the number of troops dispatched for rescue operations has been increased from 1,000 to 4,600 troops. The narrowness of the Noto Peninsula has added to the challenges in reaching some communities. Water, power, and cell phone service were still down in some areas. Naomi Gono said she and her children got out of their house just in time when it came crashing down. Her children were screaming, "Grandma, Grandma," and Gono saw that her mother was trapped under the smashed house, with only her hand visible. She was able to squeeze her way out through a little tiny space. Miss Gono said, "I can't believe we're still alive. We are living in fear." Relief officials have handed out water, blankets, food, and other supplies. Sniffer dogs have been donated from around the world. Cadaver dogs have joined military personnel and firefighters in the search for victims. Weather forecasters have warned of heavy rain in Ishikawa, leading to worries about landslides and further damage to half-crumbled homes. Temperatures now are expected to drop to around 40 degrees Fahrenheit tonight or lower. Ishikawa Governor Hiroshi has encouraged everyone to use masks, antiseptic soap to guard against the spread of infectious diseases as evacuees shelter together. They're trying to ensure adequate water supplies and toilets for those who are displaced, and that is a priority. Around 34,000 people are now staying in evacuation shelters, and some said they were hungry and cold, unable to sleep, and they were afraid. When Monday's 8.4 earthquake hit, Yasu Kobataki ran out of his house with just one sock on. The shaking threw him to the ground, and a concrete wall came crashing down, barely missing him. He was eating only rice balls, a few sips of water in paper cups at the elementary school where he and others had been sheltering in place. They had slept on cushions with no blankets. He said, "I was so cold, I thought I'd freeze to death." In the aftermath of the quakes and the tsunamis, boats lay overturned in the ocean. Roads were blocked by mounds of dirt, and pillars and walls lay scattered from flattened homes. A large fire turned an entire section of Wajima City into ashes. Let me go back to that picture right here. Turned the entire city of Wajima City into ashes. Officials warned that more major quakes could happen. There is a 25% chance at any time that any quake, including the major 8.4, 8.5 quake, could turn larger. There is a 25% chance even the largest earthquake and any one of the other aftershocks could be a foreshock of a much larger quake. Japan is prone to earthquakes, with many fault lines and volcanoes up and down the entire country. A massive quake, a tsunami, and a nuclear disaster in March 11, 2011 caused widespread damage in northeastern Japan. No major problems were reported at any of the other nuclear plants on the western side of Japan Monday. The Shika nuclear power plant at Ishikawa suffered a partial electrical failure, but backup power kicked in, ensuring the critical cooling processes continued. As most of you know, Japan is an organized and conformist and relatively crime-free society, where warnings are systematically relayed as a public service. Disaster experts say that is helping save lives, because the warnings are systematically relayed as a public service. Takako Izumi, who is a disaster science professor at Tohoku University, said, "Time is needed to figure out logistics because roads are often blocked after an earthquake." And I have showed you the roads are blocked in many different places throughout western Japan. And large trucks can't get through to deliver aid. In many cases, as I showed you, roads were disheveled, turned upside down, fissures opened up in the middle of roadways, roads cracked, and vehicles left in the middle of what used to be a roadway that are unable to be moved because they cannot get equipment in to move the vehicles or repair the roads right now. Large trucks can't get through delivery of aid. All the aid has to come through aircraft, either to any nearby airports, and quite honestly, I don't know any nearby airports. However, they have to be flown in, at least by helicopter. Land routes right now are not accessible. Aid will have to be dropped from the sky or brought in by boat. The winter cold that we talked about a few minutes ago adds to health risks, and some people still have not received or even reached an evacuation center. Many people have not even reached an evacuation center. We need to accurately assess the damage first. In order to assess the damage, they have to access the damage. And in many cases, they still cannot access the damage. And then, and only then, are they going to have a proper response. And that is what is needed to reach the right places right now. That is what still is going on in Japan. Does anyone have any questions for me in regards to Japan? It's very bad. It's very bad. They still have 117 people still missing. Over 300 are injured. At least 84 people have succumbed to injuries as a result of the earthquake and the tsunami. Does anyone have any questions? I know I've gone through this very fast. I have a lot to talk about tonight, and I would ask for everybody to pay close attention to what we're talking about. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask. Grace for Purposes didn't know that you glad pointed out that they're fairly crime-free. They are. Prayers and love to all of them. Folks, I have friends there. I have friends that I used to hang out with in Fargo, North Dakota, who now live there and are teachers in Japan. I have a friend of mine who lived on Ishikawa, Japan. Fortunately for he and his wife, they were visiting friends in Tokyo when the quake hit. They do not know whether the home still stands on Ishikawa, Japan. Rochelle is asking, where is this energy going to go? That's an awesome question, Rochelle. Let's go back to the USGS map. I'm going to show you where that energy is going to go. Let me back out here. Again, that's Ishikawa, Japan I just showed you. I showed you this other earthquake in the Izu Islands. That's a 4.6. Over here in northern Honshu, Japan, this is a 4.3. This earthquake is 9 kilometers east-southeast of Inoshino, let me try to get this right, Inoshino-soki, Japan. Ishinoseki, Japan. Ichinoseki, Japan. Okay? Now, while there is a major town down here, this is a fairly secluded place. This is up in the mountains of Honshu. Up in the mountains of Honshu. Now, while there are people that live here, this is a mountainous region. There are people who live. This is a moderate 4.3 earthquake. A 4.3 earthquake can do moderate damage. It can knock books off of shelves. Books and trinkets off of shelves. It can rattle plates. It'll make the cupboard doors slam open and close. It'll knock pictures off of walls. But that's just about all the damage that this 4.3 moderate earthquake can do. So let's back out here. Further north here, this is western Hokkaido. Western Hokkaido. Off the coast is a 4.2 earthquake. This is 200 miles deep. This is one of the deepest earthquakes around the world right now. 200 kilometers deep. Okay? Also in the Sea of Japan. Okay? You ask where all that seismic energy is going to go. Right now you see it going north. It is going to go north. We have an earthquake here in the southern Kuril Islands. The Kuril Islands belong to Russia. This is another 4.3 here. 10 kilometers deep. 10 kilometers deep. Now, there are other earthquakes here. As you can see here in the northern Kuril Islands, actually almost north central Kuril Islands. This is a 4.6. This is 138 kilometers deep. Okay? Still a fairly shallow earthquake. The energy, that 8.4 magnitude energy, is going to end up right here. It's eventually going to make its way here. And actually, I thought it probably would make its way here before now. Right here on the east central part of Kamchatka Peninsula. Kamchatka Peninsula belongs to Russia. It's going to end up going up here. Then it's going to transfer through the Aleutian Island chain. Today they're not showing us any earthquakes. I'm sure there are plenty of earthquakes here in the Aleutian Islands. They're just not telling us about it. Lately, the USGS and the EMSC European Agency have been hiding earthquakes. Heaven forbid they are honest with anybody now. The European agency used to talk about all of the earthquakes around the globe. I have a feeling, I don't know for sure because I have not talked to any European agency employees or USGS employees, and they won't talk to me. But somehow in the past 3 months, the European agency and the US agency are in cahoots. Neither agency is allowing any information about most earthquakes to go out. Like I said, there's over 800 earthquakes around the globe. Usually 50 to 60 earthquakes here in Alaska. What do you see? Only 3. Only 3. Over here in southern Alaska, this earthquake is near Ellsworth, Alaska. Port Ellsworth, Alaska. This is a 2.8 minor earthquake. North of there, northeast, this is Cooper Landing, Alaska, a 2.5 earthquake. The only other earthquake they're reporting right now is over here in western Denali, northwestern Denali National Park. They're reporting this as a 3.5 small earthquake. They're reporting it that it is southeast of Denali National Park. Really? Isn't that interesting? It is nowhere near northeast Denali National Park. This is over in northwestern Denali National Park. Northwestern Denali National Park. USGS cannot even make out directions, let alone be truthful about earthquakes anywhere. They've literally stopped reporting it. Literally. Literally. Let's take a look. We have many of you that live here on the Big Island, Hawaii. Over here, this is a 3.4. This earthquake must be reported. USGS is at least acknowledging this. You guys can see where it's at. This is at a major break in the Big Island of Hawaii. We've talked about this before. There's been rumors, and I'm going to emphasize rumors, that this piece of land would separate from the Big Island and fall into the ocean and cause a massive tsunami that would inundate Mexico and the United States. It has not happened, and it probably will not happen. Okay? But a 3.4 small earthquake occurred here today. This is also considered to be fern forest. Fern forest. You can see the gray area here. This is where lava exited some of the fissures that opened up here in 2019. Lava entered the fissures and made its way to the ocean here in fern forest. This is called the Helena Slump. The Helena Slump. Okay? North of there, this is just south and east. Actually, I can't even say south. It's north and east of Halemaumau Crater, Kilauea volcano. This is Halemaumau Crater. Kilauea volcano rests in Halemaumau Crater. They're not reporting anything happening here. Again, they are not reporting anything happening here. That does not mean it didn't happen. They're just not reporting it. Plain and simple. Down here in Pahala, in past days, months, and years, there have been upwards of 15 to 20 earthquakes here every day. 15 to 20 earthquakes here every day. Today they're reporting a 2.8 minor earthquake here. It's 4.9 kilometers deep, about 2 miles deep. As I have reported before, this is Pahala, Hawaii. Pahala, Hawaii is like a gas station. Magma deep inside the earth, way down here in the eastern Pacific. There's a big, huge magma plume down here. Olivia just gave us a $10 super chat. Thank you very much, Olivia. Olivia, we really appreciate it. Olivia's saying thank you for all you do. Thank you for that, Olivia. God bless you for that. We appreciate all of your support. It means a great deal to us. It keeps the lights on here. It keeps us with the bandwidth necessary to do our program. Yes, it takes money to operate this program. When I first started in here over 4.5 years ago, I didn't even realize that. I thought I could get by with bandwidth, and I cannot. It takes bandwidth. It takes internet capabilities, and you guys help me keep the lights on here and pay the bills. Getting back here to Hawaii. Pahala, that huge magma plume down in the South Pacific. It comes up here to Pahala. Pahala is the distribution point for magma from that magma plume. The magma comes here to Pahala. Pahala distributes the magma all around the island. Over here to Kilauea. South over here to Pu'u'oa. And all the other fissures and named volcanoes further south and east in the East Rib Zone. This is the East Rib Zone out here. Okay? This is also right here considered to be fern forest, right here. You see the lava plumes here. This is an older picture of the Big Island. The lava plumes were here in 2019. The lava plumes came out of the fissures that opened up here, all over fern forest and Leilani estates. This whole area was inundated with lava pouring out of these fissures. People lived just outside of fern forest, and they lived all over Leilani estates. Some 1,500 homes were destroyed from the lava that emptied out of the fissures into the landscape here. Some people escaped with their lives. There were very few injuries because people were to escape. They were lucky. There are some areas still out here where the lava is still warm to touch, because there's hot magma just down below the surface. Lava streamed out of these fissures all the way over here in Leilani Estates. You can see the gray areas around the shoreline. Lava poured out of the fissures and made its way to the shoreline, and it added distance. It added land to the shoreline of the Big Island. Some people were offshore watching the lava hit the water. When the lava hit the cold water of the Pacific Ocean, there were lava bursts. Great big huge balls of lava ricocheted off the cold water of the Pacific, and twice that hot lava reached the boat and tried to burn the boat down. Fortunately, they were able to pour water over that lava bomb. Only one person was injured. One person was injured. After those two boats suffered lava bombs, officials kept the boats far enough off the shore it would not happen again. They had another issue with lava after the lava was pouring into the ocean. It was called glass Paley's hair. Paley's hair being launched out of the fissures. As the lava made its way to the ocean, when it hit the water, it exploded, causing lava hair, Paley's hair, glass, small shards, thin pieces of glass to launch out into the air. People were warned to wear long-sleeve shirts, and to wear face coverings, and to wear goggles over their eyes to protect themselves from these shards of glass from volcanoes. Yes, folks, Paley's hair. Shards of glass from volcanic eruptions. They had to worry about that. They wore face coverings to protect their lungs and the respiratory tract from inhaling pieces of glass and ash that would have harmed them and caused them health issues. That's what they had to be careful of when that eruption happened. Why did all that lava make its way over to Fern Forest and Leilani Estates? Folks, there had been an eruption at Kilauea. Lava had reached up near the rim of the volcano here. All of a sudden, the lava stopped. It drained out of Kilauea and Pu'u'o volcanoes. Andrew Golden just gave us another $20 super chat. Andrew, thank you so much. Andrew says, keep going, bud. You're doing good things. Stay in the fight. That's exactly what I plan on doing. Thank you for your help, Andrew. God bless you for that. We sure appreciate it. The lava drained out of Pu'u'o and Kilauea. Several days went by and scientists were puzzled as to where the lava went. All of a sudden, scientists and residents noted that there were fissures opening up here in the landscape. And pretty soon, lava started pouring out of those fissures, inundating the landscape. Like I said, damaging and destroying homes. People had to be evacuated from their homes in Leilani Estates. All over this whole area. Lava drained out of that volcano, or both of those volcanoes, out here into this area. And that's why, that's exactly what happened here. They found out. The lava drained out into the eastern rift zone here. Now, some of these fissures are now named volcanoes. The fissures have made themselves either craters or cones, and the Hawaiian people have named them individual names on their volcanoes. So now there's even more volcanoes out here. And in some areas where the lava is still in the crater of the volcano, there's still a luminescence orange there in the crater, meaning there's lava, hot lava, still in the crater of the volcano. Now, over here at Kilauea. This is an older picture of Kilauea. This is not current by any means, shape, or form. Lava now is up within 100 to 150 feet of the rim of the volcano. It presently is not erupting, however, it is steaming. There is a caldera. A caldera. A caldera is where magma has hardened in a huge lava table. It's called a caldera. That caldera is now within 100 to 150 feet of the rim of the volcano, not down inside the volcano as this picture shows it to be. There is still steaming going on the northeast rim, near the northeast rim of the volcano, and other places around the caldera. Like I said, right now it is not erupting, but it could be. The last eruption was about 2 months ago. I believe it was November when we last had a small fountaining of lava at Kilauea volcano. Okay? That's what's going on here. Now, I'm going to back out here to the west. This volcano is Mauna Loa. Mauna Loa volcano. They do not show anything going on there. I know for a fact that there are earthquakes happening here at Mauna Loa. Mauna Loa erupted earlier last year. After about 3 weeks, it stopped. There have been earthquakes ongoing here at Mauna Loa. Regardless of what the USGS says, they're still ongoing here. Now, with that said, the USGS is now showing us one earthquake here northwest of there. This is a 3.2 magnitude earthquake. USGS has this as 14 kilometers southeast of Waikoloa, Hawaii. Folks, where is it at? I'm going to show you something. See this volcano right here? This is Mauna Kea. This is Mauna Kea volcano. This earthquake here, this 3.2 allegedly near Waikoloa, Hawaii, it's closer to Mauna Loa. I mean Mauna Kea. It's closer to Mauna Kea. It's also 34 kilometers deep. Okay? But that's not all. There's more. Right up here, there's another volcano here. This is Hualalai volcano. Hualalai volcano. Hualalai has some tremors here. There are some tremors. There's always some kind of tremor activity here at Waialoa. Now, while that's the case, Waialoa doesn't have any sort of activity that would indicate possible eruption at any point right now. However, going back here to Mauna Kea, right now Mauna Kea has more earthquake activity going than even Mauna Loa. Mauna Kea has more activity than Mauna Loa does. But Mauna Loa has a lot of activity. I just want to make that clear. They're just not showing it. They didn't show it even a year ago, but it was a fact. And occasionally I will come over here to the Big Island and I will show you seismograms here at the Big Island. There is activity. Don't ever let it be that there's not, regardless of what the stupid USGS says. And I know I'm going to get slapped upside the head now that I've said that. Last week I got slapped up beside the head because someone was offended that I called USGS BS. Okay? If the shoe fits. And I'm not trying to offend anybody. But now USGS is not even reporting half of what it used to. Like I said, they're reporting 42 earthquakes worldwide. Right now we know there are over 800 earthquakes worldwide. I just got through telling you that. All of that seismic energy that was over there in western Japan is headed north. I will think that anywhere between now and next Monday, at the latest middle of next week, we're going to see 7.0 activity up here on the central west side of Kamchatka and then it's going to go across the Aleutian Islands towards Alaska. Promise that. Before I get into the Northwest, okay, I want to take a stop here to Iceland. USGS is not talking about anything about Iceland. They're sadly mistaken. Them saying nothing about Iceland is sadly mistaken. Let me get out of USGS map for a few minutes. We'll come back to it. We'll come back to it in a minute. I want to show you seismic activity happening over in Iceland. Right here, north and west of Grindavik. We've had 2 earthquakes that happened just after midnight last night. One earthquake was a 3.9. 3.9 is the smaller end, or excuse me, the larger end of a small earthquake. 3.0, 3.9 are considered to be small earthquakes. One earthquake was a 3.9. The other was a 4.5 moderate quake. Both of them fairly shallow earthquakes right here in Iceland. The ground is still moving, folks. Don't let it be said that it's not. Now, this is what's happening. Okay? There's a magma chamber underneath Svartsenga. Svartsenga is where there is a geothermal plant. A geothermal plant, just like we saw down in the Imperial Valley, south of the Salton Sea. Just like we've seen 100 miles north of San Francisco at the geysers facility. Just like there is north of Reno and over at Koza Volcano. We're going to talk about Koza Volcano later this evening, within the next 45 minutes. But underneath Svartsenga, where the geothermal power plant is, there is a magma chamber. And the ground is rising over that magma chamber. The magma chamber is presently in a state of infill. Magma is infilling in that magma chamber. It's recharging. Recharging since the last eruption just days before Christmas. The Monday before Christmas. Then by Wednesday that week it stopped. By Saturday, officials allowed people back into Grindavik. The magma chamber is north and west of Grindavik. It's refilling. There is a composite volcano just east of there, or west of there, I'm sorry, just west of there. There are magma dikes underneath the ground. And you see these lines here that they have short lines drawn in here. The short lines are magma dikes underneath the ground. The magma dikes just a week before Christmas filled up and broke the surface, forming a huge 4.3 kilometer long line of fissures that opened up, with lava flowing out of those fissures over the landscape. At the time, scientists believed that that lava coming out of the fissures would reach Grindavik by Christmas. It didn't happen. The lava stopped flowing 2 days after it started. People were allowed back into Grindavik. There's still a lot of activity in Grindavik. There are some tremors that aren't being felt, but there are tremors that are happening there around Grindavik, in and around Grindavik. Big fissures are gradually starting to be filled up and roads repaired. Minor repairs that can be done to homes so people can live in them are being done. Other homes, like I've reported before, have been destroyed. About 9 different homes are totally uninhabitable today. That's what's going on there. Authorities don't know what to think right now. The scientists are manning the machines to try to keep an eye on what's happening, to try to forecast what's going on, to try to save lives. That's what's going on right now in Iceland. Richard Smith is in the chat tonight. He's over in Nova Scotia, Canada. Richard Smith is saying we are standing on shaky ground, and I know there are earthquakes all around. You're absolutely right, there are. Unfortunately, the agencies are not talking about much of anything going on. The Canadian agency is, however, showing tremors in eastern and western Canada. It is happening. USGS will never show it. They just won't. They have no intention of being honest about anything. Before I get into earthquakes in the Pacific Northwest, I want to go back here to the USGS map for a few minutes here. Okay? Oh, darn it. Up here, up in the Greenland Sea area here, there is a 4.5 earthquake that's happened here in the Greenland Sea, up near I think it's north of Svalbard. North of Svalbard. It's too bad. It's a sad day when our own agency is not reporting the earthquakes that they should be talking about. People's lives depend on it. Okay? Let me show you something. It's too bad when the European agency is showing us the earthquake here. Look at that. The Europeans are showing it to us, but heaven forbid the US shows us anything. Okay? It's sad. This is, I'm sorry, I'm going to use a word here. This is hellish. Hellish. 843 earthquakes worldwide, and USGS won't even report on even a third of them. They're now saying there's 40 earthquakes worldwide. It's amazing. This is utterly amazing. Before I came on this show tonight, I was doing a radio show for People internet radio. And on the show, they were asking me in their chat room. Yes, they had a chat room. They were asking me if there were any earthquakes in or around the Azores. Folks, I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes because there have been. Over here in Portugal, south central Portugal, there's a 2.0 earthquake right here. Over here just west of the Strait of Gibraltar, we have 3 earthquakes right here. There's an earthquake fault. Look at that. Isn't that something? We have earthquakes at an earthquake fault right there, just east of the Strait of Gibraltar here. Let me show you these earthquakes. There's a 2.9, there's a 2.6, and a 2.2. This is a 2.9. The 2.6 is out to the right, and the 2.2 is just below it, on the earthquake fault there. On the earthquake fault right there. Okay? In the Azores, which is right here just off the coast of Portugal and Spain, there have been earthquakes here, and unfortunately I don't believe they're reporting them now. 2.5 and 2.4 earthquakes. Over in the Canary Islands. In the Canary Islands, there's an island just south of La Palma. There's 2 earthquakes here, and I don't know what the island is. El Pinar they're calling Elpenor Canary Islands. This one is a 2.3. This one is a 2.3. There's also a 2.3, two twin 2.3s here on this island. It might be Elpenor. Elpenor. Elpenor might be the name of the island here. This is Tibecu. Tibecu. This other one says, this other location's Elpenor. Elpinar, Canary Islands. Two minor earthquakes there, 2.3 and 2.0. Okay? That's what's going on. Once we start heading out from the Azores, from Portugal area, out here near the Mid-Atlantic Fault, we have a 2.4. This 2.4 is in the Azore Islands here. 2.4 there. Over here on the Central Atlantic Fault, the North Atlantic Fault, not Central, North Atlantic, we have a 2.8 here. A 2.8 on the North Mid-Atlantic Fault. We don't have any earthquakes here in England. We don't show any earthquakes here in England. Right now, we don't show any earthquakes in Norway, Sweden, or Denmark. Nothing in Scandinavia. Okay? However, let's go over to France. France. Over in South Central France, Centre des Foyers, France, a 2.2 magnitude earthquake right there. South Central France. We move out to the east. Weller, Germany, a 2.1 here. Just south of that one are two earthquakes. Sorenburg, Switzerland, 2.3, and Fluhili, Switzerland, 6. 2.6 and a 2.2 here in Switzerland. Okay? Nothing here. Not a thing being mentioned here in France or Switzerland. Not a thing. Not a thing. There's nothing even mentioned in Italy. Oh, wait. The Europeans are mentioning a 2.2 in Marche, Italy. Marche, Italy, a 2.2. How about that? We actually have an earthquake mentioned by the Europeans. Let's go over to Greece. Do you think we might have something going on in Greece? Oh, you better believe it. You better believe there's something going on here in Greece. Let me show you Greece. This is a 2.3. Northeastern Greece. South of there, we have a 3.0. A 3.0. South of there, southern Greece, we have a 2.0 there. South of there, this is over in the southern islands of Greece, a 2.5 there. Then over in Crete, this is in central Crete, this is a 2.3 here. USGS, not showing a dang thing. Not anything. Not a dang thing there. Over in central Turkey, We have three 2.0, 2.3 earthquakes here. South central Turkey. Now, all the time when I show Turkey here with the USBS, okay, this here is an area where we had a 9.0, 10.0 earthquake in, I believe, February of last year. The border area of Turkey and Syria. Well, guess what? There are earthquakes there. Here's a 2.0. And off to the east of there is another 2.2. And there are two other earthquakes out there too. Also in Turkey, a 2.0 and a 2.5. 2.0 and a 2.5 there. However, getting back here where the main part of the quake was shaking, we have three earthquakes here. Okay? We have a 2.5, we have a 2.4, and a 2.0. 2.5, 2.4, and a 2.0 over here in eastern Turkey. This is where the 9.0, 10.0 earthquake happened. USBS don't show anything. Folks, a major earthquake hit here last year. Aftershocks keep hitting here. Folks, we had an 8.4 earthquake over in western Japan. We are going to see aftershocks in western Japan for months, if not years. Months, if not years. 9.0, 10.0 earthquakes have aftershocks for years, whether or not USBS wants to show them or not. Plain and simple. My friend Canadian Patriot 1 is here in the chat. He says apparently stupidity is the normal, unfortunately. If anyone is offended by this, then I suggest you go hide in your basement and have your mommy make you a Sammy while you cry about it. Pretty much it. Now, I hate to be as vivid as Canadian Patriot 1 is, but it's the truth. If you think it's okay to not show earthquakes that have happened, earthquakes that put people's lives in danger, and they do, then you might as well work for them. All over here, there's about 20 earthquakes in Indonesia. They're showing us 2 in Indonesia and only 1 in the Philippines. What's up with that? They're not even showing all the earthquakes in Japan. Why not? They're showing 2 earthquakes, 1 in Solomon Islands and 1 in Vanuatu. And they're showing 3 over here in the southeastern Pacific. Lavuka, Fiji here. The southern Fiji region of 4.5. And of course, the 5.6 Nuku'alofa, Tonga. Folks, over here in South America, there are about 18 earthquakes here. USBS showing us 2. 4.3 over here in over here in central Chile. 4.3. 131 kilometers deep. Over here, northern Peru just south of Ecuador. A 4.7 here. 36 kilometers deep. They're not showing us but 1 earthquake in Central America. Why not? This is the 4.6 in Nicaragua. 4.6 in Nicaragua, over on the Cocos Plate. This is 63 kilometers deep here on the Cocos Plate. There are 5 other earthquakes here as well. There's 20 earthquakes here in southern Mexico. 20 other earthquakes in southern Mexico. I swear, guys, what's going to have to happen? What's going to have to happen? Somebody's going to get hurt here. A lot of these earthquakes here in southern Mexico, ranging from southeast of Mexico City, where Popocatépetl is, and south there, just on the northern border of Guatemala and Mexico. A bunch of earthquakes here. 3s and 4s. Even have earthquakes over here to Puerto Vallarta. They're not showing them, are they? Heaven forbid. Heaven forbid. Folks, let me show you something. The Europeans are showing only one earthquake just south of Puerto Vallarta near Acapulco. This is a 4.0 here near Acapulco. 4.0. USGS not even acknowledging that. Nothing. Today, just north of the Garlock Fault on the San Andreas, we have a 2.6 right here. Pine Mountain Club a 2.26. South of there, south of the San Andreas Fault, Malibu, California, a 2.3. They're not even showing any other earthquakes here in Southern California except for that 2.3 near Malibu. There are 2.3s, upwards of 3.5s and 4.0s all over eastern Los Angeles. They're not showing any at all. They are not showing any earthquakes in Northern California going all the way up to the Cascadia subduction area over near Seattle and southwestern Canada. They're not showing one earthquake. Not the USGS and not the European agency. Nothing is being shown here. Not a darn thing is being shown here. Folks, I promise you there are earthquakes here. I'm going to show you those quakes now. Canadian Patriot says, just more proof, Ron, that the powers that be don't give a rat's patty about our well-being. Hurricane Heather says, home is where the heart is. She's right, too. I'm going to show you now where the earthquakes are at. I have plenty of evidence of what's going on. I want everybody to understand what's happening. I'm going to start off here at Mount Baker. For months now, we haven't been able to show you too much at Mount Baker. This is Mount Baker number 2. The seismograph station up here at Mount Baker. There's now 2 of them. 2 of them. One of them is brand new. They've got other seismographs all over the mountain. One at the ski resort, and we're going to show you that one in a minute. The seismogram I'm showing you right now. This is the Mount Baker HHN channel. This is a 5-channel seismogram. The HHN channel shows you VLF waves caused by magma inside the volcano. The more wavy lines you see, the more magma that's coming into the volcano. I want you to understand exactly what's happening here. Look closely at these wavy lines here. There is plenty of magma coming into Mount Baker. plenty of magma coming from Mount Baker. Let me show you another one. Okay? I want to show you another one. This is Shuxon. This is a ski resort at Mount Baker. Again, this is the HHN channel. Look at the magma coming into this volcano. Isn't that wild? Plenty of magma coming into Mount Baker. They're just not willing to show us all the earthquakes, are they? Heaven forbid. NCWQ Explorer Rebecca is talking about a 3.0 earthquake that hit in the St. Lawrence Valley. St. Lawrence Valley, Canada. That is a small 3.0 earthquake in eastern Canada. Go figure. USBS not showing it. Incredible. Again, this is Mount Baker, guys. Plenty of magma coming into the magma channel here at Mount Baker. Plenty of Mount Baker information here. That's Shuxon. Okay? This is Upper Baker Dam. Look at this. This is the seismic information here. Now, while some of this is movement of an individual of the seismograph, movement of the seismograph, of the stylus, okay, you still see an awful lot of movement here. Okay, this is seismic movement at the Upper Baker Dam seismograph. This is proof positive that there is seismic activity hitting here. Okay? Proof positive what's going on here. Now, USBS and the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network has shut down the Glacier Peak seismograph. Shut it down. We are supposed to be having 3 different other seismographs on Glacier Peak. They have not put them up yet, and they shut down the one seismograph that was there. I don't believe that there's nothing going on at Glacier Peak either. There's plenty going on. They're just not willing to show it to us. Okay? So let's go over to Mount Constitution. Mount Constitution is about 40 miles southwest of Mount Baker. Look here. Mount Constitution. Over at the right top side of this slide, we see an earthquake, don't we? We see downward movement of the earthquake, a seismic signal here. Usually we would also see upward movement from the top of this earthquake, the signature. For some reason, we do not have the north half or northern part of this signature. This was probably going to be a 2.7, 2.8 earthquake. A minor earthquake here. Mount Constitution. Now this seismograph has been turned way down. How do we know that? Look at these individual lines of seismic data here. Okay, that's number one. We don't normally see these short lines, not like this. This seismograph has probably been turned down to about 25 to 28% of real world. We see plenty of tremors. These tremors were probably full-blown 2.5 earthquakes, but they've turned it down. Over here, late this morning, this is the PNSN seismograph, Pacific Northwest Seismic Network seismograph. Over here on the left side on the black line here, this is 11 a.m. this morning on the far left-hand side. Just about 3 minutes later, we have a group of tremors that start happening. Someone, the seismologist, moved the stylus in an upward direction. So you see the seismic signals here over about a minute and a quarter, minute and a half time period. Tremor activity. You can see other tremor activity here near the bottom of this seismogram as well. Typical. Typical. Now, I'm not done. I'm just not done. That's Mount Constitution. Folks, when they shut down the seismograph, or shut off the seismograph at Mount Baker, we went over here to Mount Constitution to find out what was going on at Mount Baker. We have one full-blown seismograph that is operational at Mount Baker. We see plenty of seismic energy. Mount Baker is a volcano and it's moving. Mount Constitution, we also see a fair amount of seismic energy there, but the seismograph has been turned down, way down at Mount Constitution. That's okay, but at least we got what we see. Now, just for kicks and giggles, I'm going to depart for a minute from the volcanoes over to the coast. I'm showing you Hidalgo, Washington. Look at this seismogram. There is plenty of seismic energy here. Both the USGS and the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network, they're not saying there are any tremors going on along the coast of Washington. Heck, they're not even reporting the earthquakes on the USGS map. Look at the tremors going on up and down the coast here. This is Hidalgo Island, Washington. You see plenty of tremors here, right? Loads of them. Probably close to 100 tremors here. That's just at Hidalgo. Just at Hidalgo. Let me briefly show you some other places where we have seismic energy building up in the Pacific Northwest, besides volcanoes. There are. How about Loomy Island? Look at this. Earthquakes and tremors here at Loomy Island. Plenty of information here, right? The top of this seismogram here starts out at 5 p.m. yesterday evening. Plenty of information here, isn't there? Tons of information here. Look at the tremors and earthquakes. The longer lines here are at least 2.5, 2.8 earthquakes. At least, if not 3.0. Yes, we have 2.0 earthquakes here as well. We have tremors here. This is Loomy Island. I'm going to show you another one here, just because I can. Actually, I'm going to show you two. Orcas Island. Look at this, folks. Do you think anything's going on here? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Why are they not telling us about earthquakes and tremors here? What would the tremors say to us? There's a lot of them, right? Oh, there most certainly is. Here, you're probably seeing 60 to 70 tremors and earthquakes here. One more slide here along the coastline. I'm loving this. I haven't shown you anything like this in a while. Radar Ridge, Nassau, Washington. Look at all the slow slip going on here. This is a lot of seismic activity. They're not reporting any of this at all, are they? Not one dime of it. Not one dime. Rebecca's saying there's a 2.3 earthquake in Washington. It'd be nice for them to show it, wouldn't they? Wouldn't that be nice? Folks, let me mosey down now to Mount Rainier volcano in Washington. Look at this, guys. Look at this. I've been just waiting to show you this all day. This, folks, is Camp Muir on the west side of the rim of Mount Rainier. Look what we're seeing here. The seismogram started recording information here at 21:40 this morning. I'm seeing, not this morning, but last night. 21:40 last night. 9:05 p.m. last night. Look at the tremors and earthquakes. Over here toward the right central part of the seismogram. Look what we have here. If we were to take these earthquakes at face value, it would probably be showing us a 2.2, 2.3 earthquake. However, look closely. The top and the bottom of that seismic signature has been cut off. Look also closely to the right side of that. There is a secondary wave. That triangle out to the right is a secondary wave of that quake. It's showing about 50 seconds of secondary wave, which means this earthquake was at least a 3.0, 3.5 earthquake. At least. The secondary wave lasts another 2.5 minutes. The body wave lasts 2.5 minutes. The secondary wave about 50 seconds. This tells us it's a 3.5 earthquake. Right above it on the dark blue there. This should be a 2.2, 2.3 earthquake as well. This seismograph has been turned way down. Way, way down. Yes, we're seeing at least minor earthquakes and at best 3.5 or larger earthquakes here. Look at the other tremors all over this seismogram. Mount Rainier is busy. Mount Rainier is busy. Look at the dark blue earthquake signature over to the right. This happened at just before 11:30 a.m. this morning. Again, the top and the bottom of this signature has been cut off. We also have a tremor happening right before the earthquake really got started. And over on the right hand side at 11:30, we also have another triangle going off to the right. The triangle going off to the right lasts about 35-40 seconds. That tells us this is at least a 3.0 earthquake. We have 2s and 3s all over this seismograph. All over. If you have or see a very small vertical line without a dot in the middle of it. If it's a vertical line with a dot, it's an earthquake. If there's a thin vertical line without a dot, it is a steam signature. Mount Rainier is steaming. Mount Rainier has earthquakes. Okay? I'm proving it. I'm proving it without a shadow of a doubt. What's going on here at Mount Rainier? Now, one more, and then I'm going to show you a spectrogram showing you the heat at Mount Rainier. This is para. This is the seismogram at the Mount Rainier Principal Research Station when it comes to weather, rain, the precip. Okay? Para is where they have the precip station. Look what we have here. This is just after midnight. Okay? About 12, I want to say 12:56 p.m. this morning. Not p.m., but 12:56 a.m. this morning. The red line is computer generated here. This is the USGS seismogram. The red line is computer generated. The red line is cut off at the bottom and the top. Okay? But look out to the right. Out to the right we have a secondary wave. The secondary wave is about 50 seconds long. This earthquake normally would be seen as a 2.0, 2.1 magnitude earthquake. With the secondary wave that goes out 50 seconds to the right, this is a 3.0 earthquake. 3.0 earthquake. The seismograph has been turned down to probably at least 60% of real world. Turned down 60% of real world. What we're seeing is maybe 40% of real world. Fact. Look at these other tremors and quakes happening here. That's amazing. Then look at this. This afternoon, guys, this afternoon. Let me enlarge this and bring it back down so you can see it. This afternoon, Pacific time. Look at all this magma coming into Mount Rainier. That is a lot of magma coming into Mount Rainier, guys. When the magma here on the seismogram completely engulfs the seismogram where you see no white, that is a deluge of magma coming into Mount Rainier. Look at the vertical lines coming out of that magma coming in. Those are tremors and earthquakes caused by the magma that is fracturing the rock as it's coming into Mount Rainier. The magma is coming into Mount Rainier under pressure, which is fracturing rock as it's coming in. That is what's causing the tremors and earthquakes here at this point in time at Mount Rainier. There's plenty of activity here at Mount Rainier. Now, let me show you the spectrogram. If you think that was exciting, let me show you the spectrogram, showing you the heat at Mount Rainier. This might blow your mind. Let me enlarge this for you. See these dark lines here? That is heat, but the lighter blue lines are extreme heat. Look at the heat coming up from the magma inside the volcano. Look at that heat, guys. That is extraordinary. That is extraordinary. We've seen heat coming into Mount Rainier before. Nothing like this. Nothing like this. This is extreme heat coming in from the magma, and the heat is reaching up to the surface. That's what's showing here. The heat reaching up to the surface of the volcano. How about that? How about that? Let's go over to Mount St. Helens. This is East Dome Mount St. Helens on the USGS seismogram. Okay? Not much is showing for last night. The top of the seismogram is reporting since 21:45 last night, 9:45. We're only showing a big, huge ball of magma that came into Mount St. Helens here early this morning. One small blob of magma. Sorry, that's not enough. They have turned this seismogram way, way down. Oh, such a thing. We have a magma churn signal here, over here on the right side. This happened early this morning. Superheated magma causes magma churn signals. Typically, magma churn signals are 23 to 24 lines long. This one is 7. This seismograph has been turned down to 26% of real world. 26% of real world. Out to the right, you see some tiny vertical lines. Those are steam lines. Steam signatures here at Mount St. Helens. Mount St. Helens is steaming. Further down here this afternoon, over here you see an accumulation of incoming magma. Okay? These lines, horizontal lines you see here are magma pulse signals. Thinner line getting thicker and getting thinner again and getting thicker again. Magma pulse signals. Magma is coming into Mount St. Helens here. You can see it. And at times, the magma is heavier than at other times. Oh, look down here this evening. Oh my gosh, what do we have here? Magma, folks, causing earthquakes. Magma causing earthquakes here this evening at the bottom of the seismogram. Magma causing earthquakes. These are just not tremors, they are earthquakes. Those are earthquakes, ladies and gentlemen. Mount St. Helens is moving, and if I'm not mistaken, it's getting ready to erupt. It's in the processes prior to another eruption at Mount St. Helens. Let's go over to the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network. September lobe. September lobe is a seismograph sitting on spindly legs. Sitting on spindly legs right on top of the summit, right on top of the volcanic rock, the plug of the volcano. September lobe. What are we seeing here? Let me move this down and enlarge it so you can see it. What do you think we're seeing here? The VLF waves here are caused by magma coming into the volcano, Mount St. Helens. These VLF wave signatures are signatures showing magma caused by the incoming magma into the volcano. There's plenty of it. So instead of seeing the seismogram like we just shown it to you from East Dome, it should be showing you a lot more activity. Absolutely it should. Why doesn't it? Because they've turned down the seismograph so it's not showing much of anything. You can see what's going on here. Mount St. Helens has a ton of magma coming into this volcano. It's shaking. There's earthquakes hitting this volcano because of all the magma that's coming in under pressure, fracturing rock inside the volcano. It's happening. You can't deny it. The seismograms show it. Incredible. Incredible. Studebaker Ridge to the north of Mount St. Helens. Look at this. This is what we would normally see all the time at every one of these seismographs from the volcanoes here. Mount Baker was showing this. Glacier Peak was showing this 4 years ago. Mount Rainier was showing this same thing. Studebaker Ridge here at Mount St. Helens was always showing us this. Always. Now it's showing it again. There was a period of time early this morning where they turned down the seismograph. Turned it down. And you can see there's hardly any information coming in here because they've turned it down. Then they turn it back up, and what happens? All of a sudden the seismograph starts recording the information again. So we have plenty of evidence of seismic events happening here this afternoon and early this morning. I showed you the seismogram from September lobe. This echoes that. This seismogram at Studebaker Ridge echoes what the VLF wave seismogram shows us. Echoes it. Early morning activity and this afternoon. A lot of it. A lot of it. Okay? Again, Mount St. Helens is getting ready to erupt. It's getting ready. Let's show you Mount Hood. I don't have time to go through here and show you all the other volcanoes around here. I am going to talk about it real briefly. Let's go over here to Barrett Spur on the north side of Mount Hood. Look what's going on here. From top to bottom activity at Mount Hood. Tremors all over the place. These are not earthquakes. I don't see one earthquake signature. These are all tremors at Mount Hood. This is Barrett Spur seismogram. Let me show you Tom, Dick, and Harry. Look at this. This is the VLF wave channel on Tom, Dick, and Harry. Look at the magma coming into Mount Hood. Plenty of magma coming into Mount Hood. Yet there is hardly any evidence of the other seismograms showing you activity at Mount Hood, because they've turned the seismographs down. They don't want us to know. We're too stupid. We are too stupid to know. Okay? That's what they believe. This is a seismogram from Timberline, the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network Timberline seismogram. Look at the earthquakes hitting here. Up at the top, the seismograph started recording information at 5 p.m. yesterday afternoon. They turned it down. They turned it immediately down so as to not to show much of anything going on here. Then, later this morning, they turned the seismograph back up. All of a sudden, we get to see 2.4, 2.5, 2.6 earthquakes. Here at Timberline, Mount Hood, the southern end, the southern lower flank of the volcano. Look what we're showing. Tremors and earthquakes, minor earthquakes hitting here at Mount Hood. There's a lot of activity here at Mount Hood. They just don't want to show it to us. Plain and simple. They don't want to be honest with us. Heaven forbid anything's going on. I don't think Mount Hood is in the later symptoms of eruption. Mount Hood is getting ready, but it's not in the later area of eruption as Mount St. Helens and Mount Rainier are. Okay? I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you. I want to show you something, guys. I want to go down to Sisters Volcano. Mount Hood and Sisters Volcano are basically in northern Oregon. Hood is definitely in northern Oregon. South of there is Sisters Volcano. Sisters Volcano is still showing us plenty of seismic movement at those volcanoes. It's not just one volcano at Sisters, it's three. Sisters North, Sisters Central, and Sisters South. Three different volcanoes, and we're only getting the one seismograph that's showing activity. This shows quite a bit of seismic activity at Sisters Volcanoes. Okay? South of there, in south central Oregon. Crater Lake. Crater Lake. Got two seismograms here. This is Crater Lake, Cleetwood Cove. They've turned down the seismogram. We're still seeing enough activity coming through on the seismogram here at Crater Lake, Cleetwood Cove. There is so much activity going on, it's forcing its way out of the turndown. You can see that here last night. Then they turned the dadgum seismograph off for a couple hours here. Then when they turn it back on, it's hardly showing anything, meaning they just barely turned it on again. Then late morning and early afternoon, we're seeing this happen. More seismic activity. Cleetwood Cove, Crater Lake. Cleetwood Cove, Crater Lake. Now, I want to show you one more here at Crater Lake. Then I'm going to go down to Mount Lassen. Okay? One more here at Crater Lake. This is Mount Scott. Mount Scott. Showing us basically the same thing. The dadgum seismologists here at USGS we're hardly seeing any activity except the seismic activity that's being forced through the electronic turndown of the seismograph. Cleetwood Cove, Mount Scott here, the same thing. Both seismographs were turned off for just a little over 2 hours today. They turn them back on and we immediately have activity here at Mount Scott and at Cleetwood Cove, Crater Lake. This shows the ineptitude of the agencies, thinking that we're too stupid to see what's going on. Okay? Let me show you Mount Lassen. There's hardly any activity at Mount Shasta. They've turned down the seismographs at Mount Shasta. This is Mount Lassen. Look at this. Mount Lassen and Mount Shasta are the southern end of the Cascade Mountain volcanoes. The Cascade Mountain volcanoes start in southern Canada, southwestern Canada, and they go all through the mountain ranges of Washington, Oregon, and Northern California. This is Mount Shasta. Look at the seismic energy here at Mount Shasta. That is a lot of seismic energy. And this seismograph was turned down. We have a ton of seismic energy here today, this morning. The top of this seismograph started recording at midnight. Look at these vertical lines here. Vertical lines with curlicues. That is steam coming from the volcano. Steam coming from the volcano. You can also see other steam signatures here as well as seismic signatures here. Earthquakes. Earthquakes. Look at that. Steam and earthquakes hitting Mount Lassen. That's a lot. Look at the bottom of this signatures here. You see vertical lines here with curlicues, and you're also seeing these vertical lines indicating earthquakes. That is a lot of activity, guys. This is at Mount Lassen. Why are they turning the seismographs at Mount Shasta down? Your guess is as good as mine. They're hardly showing any activity at all. And here, they're showing plenty. And it's not just Mount Lassen that's active. All of the volcanoes are active. Every last one of them. Every one of these volcanoes are active. One more and then we're going to end here. Okay? I'm going over to Long Volcano. Yes, Mammoth Volcano over in east central California is active. But look at Long Valley. Rob52 just gave us another $10 super chat. Rob, thank you so much. He says, thank you again, Brother Ron. Thank you, Brother Rob. Rob is a very dear friend. I love you guys. I love you guys. Every one of our mods here are awesome people. I want to thank each and every one of you. Look what's going on here in California, guys. Look at this volcano. Plenty of magma coming into Long Valley. Look at that. Earthquakes here. Earthquakes. There's also steam signatures here. Vertical lines with curlicues on them. Steam coming from Long Valley. Long Valley is a super volcano here. It's a super volcano. It's getting ready to go too. You can see it here. There's no doubt in anybody's mind what's really going on here. Does anybody have any questions of anything that I've shown you tonight? It's been a long time since I've shown you what's happened over in the Pacific Northwest, let alone what's happening down in California with Shasta and Lassen, and also over here at Long Valley. It's been a very long time since I've shown it to you. There is a lot of activity. There's a ton of activity. Don's saying here in the chat, homie, scared he gonna stay safe, sorta kinda. Don, you have a better way of staying safe than even I do right now. I don't think that the Wasatch Fault in Utah is going to give way anytime soon. I just don't think so. It is moving. It is definitely moving. That I promise you. Brothers and sisters, I'm going to share a scripture with you before I get out of here. I share scriptures at this time every night before we leave the channel. I like sharing scriptures with you. These scriptures are very meaningful to me. Over here, it's talking about God and Jesus Christ being one in purpose. They are one God, yea, the eternal Father of heaven and earth, and thus the flesh becoming subject to the Spirit, or the Son to the Father, being one God. He suffereth temptation, and yield not to temptation, but suffereth himself to be mocked, and scourged, and cast out, and disowned by his people. And after all this, after working many miracles among the children of men, he shall be led, yea, even to, as Isaiah said, as a sheep before the slaughter. A sheep before the shear, before the shear. Led as a sheep before the shear is dumb. So openeth not his mouth. Yea, even so he shall be led crucified and slain, the flesh becoming subject even unto death, and the will of the Son being swallowed up in the will of the Father. And thus God breaketh the bounds of death, having gained the victory over death, giving the Son power to make intercession for the children of men. Having ascended into heaven, having the bowels of mercy, being filled with compassion toward the children of men, standing betwixt them and justice, having broken the bands of death, having taken upon himself their iniquity and their transgressions, having redeemed them and satisfied the demands of justice. Christ was sacrificed. Christ was sacrificed for the demands of justice. Sacrificed King of the Jews. Laid in a tomb. 3 days later he was resurrected. He overcame death. He made it possible that each one of us would be resurrected and be judged by Jesus Christ and God the Father. Brothers and sisters, we have evidence throughout the scriptures of who Jesus Christ and God the Father are. We appreciate our Savior so much. He's done it all for us. He's done it all for us. And I, for one, am very grateful to our brother, our Savior, Jesus Christ, the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. May we obey the commandments of God. May we obey the commandments of God and be able to return to our Father in heaven in great thanksgiving and forever grateful for all that he has done for each one of us. I love you all. It's a pleasure to serve you. It's a pleasure to be here every night with you. I love the Savior. I bear that testimony to you every night. I love our Savior. I love our Father in heaven so very much. May God bless us that we might be able to obey the commandments. God bless us that we might be able to share this message with our children, our families, and those we care the most about, so that we might also be servants in our own family and saviors of our own family, helping our own family return to our Father in heaven. May God be with you this day and always. If anything else happens tonight, anywhere in the world, we will be back here to tell you about it as soon as the information becomes available. Until then, I ask the Lord to bless you. God be with you until we meet again. Have a good night, folks. I love you so much. You guys are my friends and family. You guys are the best. I want to thank all those who have given in super chats to us or who have donated over in the PayPal or Venmo location as well. God bless you all. And thank you all for your service. We will see you tomorrow evening with Emergency Management Associates Preparedness. Have a good night, folks. We'll see you later. Good night.